After a good long break, a short ferry, a short flight, and a short drive, we arrived in Cambodia for 2 extremely action-packed days. And as soon as we arrived, we got the best mango drinks we had had on our trip yet. While in Siem Reap, we went several times to this coffee shop, which was also a place that provided free training for young women from underprivileged backgrounds, trained them how to be chefs and bakers, and it has empowered, it says, 151 women through training. We quickly discovered that the food in Cambodia is delicious and very inexpensive, and we wished we had more time there.
So if you don't get it first, you do it again. So she cuts it first to make the pepper shape. Wow, that's impressive.
Although our time in Cambodia was very short, we felt that we couldn't miss it on a tour through Southeast Asia because of Angkor Wat and these amazing trees. So you probably know by now how much I love trees. Look at these fantastic trees. They're probably fig trees, which we've seen now throughout many places of the world. But you can see here how the buildings were there first and the trees have grown on and through, see the roots there poking out, through these buildings, which gives a sense of time too for how old these buildings are. They are indeed fig trees. I just looked it up. And fig trees are also quite big. You can see in the background there how they're supporting the weight of this tree that's growing on and through. Here you can see all the metal supports for the tree. These trees have also attracted some other attention. So movies like Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie was filmed here. And all the carvings and the faces are really just quite magnificent up close. Although these sites are known as Angkor Wat itself is actually just one out of up to 100 known temple sites around the Siem Reap and Angkor region. The word Angkor means city, and the Angkorian period of the Khmer Empire spanned from the 9th to the 15th century. During this time, not every king, but it was pretty common practice for a new king to build a new Angkor, a new city, with a new temple site, and the people would then move there and start building this thing. It would be a temple site for him, also would be a mausoleum after his death, and so that's why there are so many of these sites around the Angkor area. The Angkor area is not just a bunch of old buildings with trees growing on it. We were really interested to find out how important the Khmer Empire was. It was the superpower of Southeast Asia for 6 centuries. It was like the Roman Empire, but of Southeast Asia. They basically created the map of Southeast Asia. At their height, it included the modern countries of Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. The written script of Thai and Laos came from the Khmer script. The Khmer Empire was the reason that Buddhism and Hinduism were able to take root in Southeast Asia, and we saw a really interesting mix of the two here in Cambodia. Angkor Wat was the world's largest pre-industrial city. It had 1 million people when London was just a small town.
Not original. See? Before we cannot walk here. Because this temple, I remember when I came here, no door, no everything, because the door is blocked by the stone, by the tree. We cannot, we go inside, but we need to climb up, you know. We climb up the stone and get down, climb up the stone and get down. Really? Round, but when collected out, so that the people try to collect the piece on the stone to keep here. Because some stone still good quality, because maybe one day people move back, yeah. But some stone the people cannot find, or they will get a new stone to put.
And for all you Lego lovers out there, this is the real life Lego putting back together these places after them crumbling. The orange is the bricks they had to replace to build it again.
Pile of the extra stones when they're trying to rebuild. Yeah. When they're trying to rebuild this, reconstruct it after it's been destroyed over hundreds of years from the forest growing over it. They had, all the pieces were lying in piles where they had fallen, and you couldn't get into the temples. You had to climb over them. So they've cleared them away so you can get in, and just piled them here, like you would on the side of your puzzle table that you're working on the puzzle. These are the extra puzzle pieces. So these 2 different kinds of rocks here, the lava rock is used as the foundation because the water can run through the holes so it doesn't flood the foundation. And then on top of the lava rocks, they put the softer sandstone because they can carve it. And they hauled all these rocks, including the lava rock, from at least 65 kilometers away using elephants. And to get the blocks way up high, they had holes in the rocks. You can see there's holes there. See? And they'd put poles in the holes and strings, and then a few humans would physically haul them up to get up to the top. Something like Angkor Wat, which is enormous, was built in only 38 years, including the big moat around it. It was pretty fast. They did, some Khmer people who lived here and would follow the king wherever he went to live and build his temple. They would work, and then, but not every single day. But then they also had slaves. The Cham people, Muslims, they were fighting them, and if they captured them, then they would make them work on it. So it was a combination of volunteer civilians working and slaves.
We noticed at one of the many sites in Angkor Wat that there were a lot of carvings, like people or animals. Some of them were dinosaurs, which we thought was interesting. And there were also really big carvings, like giant lions and snakes and things. And there were a lot of them too, mostly by the entrances and exits. And we thought that was really interesting.
This is a snake called Naga. And you can tell because it has this long body. And the story is that the Buddha was meditating and started raining, and so the Buddha was getting covered in water, but wouldn't stop until he was done meditating. So the snake coiled up underneath him and raised him up out of the water so he wouldn't drown, and then put his head over top of the Buddha's to be like an umbrella. And so all these snakes, you can see here, this is also a snake, Naga. You never see the tail because the tail was always underwater. Also there's lions. This is a lion. And all the tails are missing because during the war, the tails had metal inside them. And in the times of the war, the people were very poor, so they would break off the tails to get the metal, which was precious. And a lot of the heads of the statues are broken off because inside the heads, or the eyes, there would have been jewels. So the people needed that too, so they broke those off.
It's impossible to capture the size and breadth and wonderment of Angkor and all its temples. We've tried our best with the videos and the photos, but you need days here to wrap your head around the size and scale of what's been built. Or you might lose your head if you don't watch where you're walking. Apparently, people were much shorter back in the Khmer days when they built this. Here's a small model of the real Angkor Wat, the main temple.
Here we are at Angkor Wat, the Temple of Angkor Wat. It's very big. This is our second tour thing of the day. We've seen 3 temples. Now we're seeing this one, and then we're going to see another one. There's a moat.
Hand dug by humans.
Hand dug?
Hand dug.
How? This is what a real life moat looks like. I don't think I've ever seen an actual moat before.
There's the corner over there.
Yeah, you can see.
At last, we finally went to the actual site of Angkor Wat. This is about as classic as you can get of a photo of Angkor Wat reflected perfectly in some lily ponds. And this was probably one of the most famous things we had seen on a trip so far. I thought it was pretty cool. We noticed that in Cambodia, Hinduism and Buddhism meshed really well, actually, and the people always got along, according to our guides. This is a statue of a Buddhist, it's a Buddhist statue, but the Hinduism part is the many arms.
There is Angkor Wat in the distance, and we are standing here on this temple, as are all these people. And we're all waiting up here to watch the sunset.
So to end off our day, we went to see the beautiful sunset, which was very nice. We only had a day here, but the whole thing you could spend an entire week at. It was so big.
On top of learning about the ancient history, we learned a lot about the more recent unfortunate Pol Pot history through people like our lovely driver and guide here who told us about their personal experiences in that time. On the way home by the Buddhist monastery, we saw these beautiful candles laid out. The next morning we had a varied day, starting with a little tuk-tuk drive through Siem Reap to the National Museum, which taught us a lot about the Khmer Empire, and we realized it's one that we don't learn a lot about in our Western cultures, but it's well worth it.
This is my preferred speed of going through museums, although it's not some people in our family's preferred speed.
The next day we went to a silk lotus farm where they make t-shirts, scarves, and cookies and tea and everything you can imagine with all parts of the lotus flower. These are some women who were weaving the lotus silk for scarves and beautiful shirts. This is what the lotus plant actually looks like, and they used the stem to make the silk. And these are all the other parts that they use. They use the flower, petals, seeds, and just about every part of the lotus, even the ones you didn't know existed. These are the people who are breaking the stems and taking the silk out of the lotus stem.
To make a bamboo fiber, you need to make powder out of your bamboo. You crush it. This one you will leave in 3 different kind of chemical bath. The last chemical bath will be the worst one. That's where you make a paste, and that's where you'll be able to extract a fake fiber, which doesn't exist in bamboo. And then you will sell your fabric, socks and everything, saying that it's eco-friendly. It is not. They use a lot of chemicals. Here we do everything naturally using only water. The same with banana. That's a banana tree just right there. You need to clean it off and you will have just this white part.
So here we are making bracelets out of the silk, and this is what they turned out to be like. And we also saw these flowers that they made into tea, which we got some to bring home, which was pretty nice. And they use every part of the plant, so this is the pulp from the stem that they make into paper. We also used the seeds to make bracelets.
Now we're using these sponges to clean up all the water from the pulp. Turn it into this paper. Such a big process going on here. Here's ours. Artwork. So fun.
After a super packed 2 days in the country, we hefted our bags, headed for the nearest overnight bus station, and packed ourselves into this sweet overnight bus. Sweet if you're 5'9" or shorter. Me, not so much. But the kids really liked it, and it was an interesting way to travel from Cambodia into our next country, Vietnam.